Jackie Jones, yeah. All right, I'm back. Jackie Jones here at iWiseWrestling.com for the TNA Lockdown pay-per-view review. Came to us from Nashville, Tennessee, which I thought would result in a really hot crowd, because usually when TNA is out of the impact zone, the crowd is really hot. The crowd really reacts to everything a lot better than the impact zone, but this was not the case, sadly, and I'll go over that shortly. I watched a pre-show, nothing really amazing on there, but I thought it was funny because if you guys watch it, Taz and TNA actually said the same line, and I think it must have been something that was fed to them, and they weren't sure who was supposed to say it, and they both said the exact same thing, which I found kind of humorous. The big thing, though, actually was on the pre-show was Kurt Angle cutting a promo, and he's talking about Jeff Hardy and his son, and saying how his son loves Jeff Hardy. He paints his face, he paints his eyelids, he's got the posters, he does it all. He is a creature of the night. And then he says, well, you know what? My son Cody is an idiot. And I saw people in the chat room, they're like, you should never call your son an idiot. Hey, I don't care. I thought it was funny. And a big thumbs up to Kurt Angle calling his own son an idiot. You gotta love it. The show actually opened up with one of the main matches, which was very surprising. It was Team Eric versus Team Garrett, and I'm not really sure the thought process here. Maybe they thought that this would overshadow the main event if it was closer to that. I don't know, but they opened up with the Lethal Lockdown, and it started out Garrett. He said he wanted to start the match. He knew he was getting his ass kicked, but he wanted to do it anyway, so he started versus Gunner. And right off the bat, you could tell that this crowd was not really hyped up into the pay-per-view, which is surprising following that awesome Impact Thursday. And I'll go more into this, but I really think overall that took away from the show. Kaz had his head shaved when he came out, and I really don't think Taz or TNA even knew who he was at first. And it's so weird, this guy, because he quit WWE famously saying because he didn't want to cut his hair. And then he goes to TNA, and I believe he cut his hair pretty much right after that. Now he's got his head completely shaved. Very odd man. Bully Ray had some heat, and the crowd really popped for AJ Styles. They saw him as a star at TNA, and they were behind AA, or A-Double. But besides that, they really weren't big into the match. I thought it was pretty cool. Bully Ray brought back the running press slam, which I brought up on the show before. I used to dig it back in the NWA. Like Sting would do that a lot, or Lex Luger. So I was happy to see Bully Ray do that. Pretty much the whole story of the match was Garrett Bischoff taking the punishment, getting beat down. At the end, Eric was holding him, and Bully Ray was really chopping him hard, and guys were beating him with weapons and whatnot. And then towards the end of the match, Eric used a kendo stick, and then Garrett used the guitar shot, which I think is kind of silly when to use a guitar as a weapon, anybody, but unless it's your gimmick, like the Honky Tonk Man, or even Jeff Jarrett, which I never really liked him using either, because he actually just used it as a weapon. There was a reason why the Honky Tonk Man had a guitar, and then he would happen to use it as a weapon. But if you're just carrying around just to be a weapon, it really doesn't make much sense, because you could find a lot better weapon to carry around with you than a guitar. But anyway, so he used a guitar shot on Eric. He pinned him, so apparently Eric is gone, and he can't use the last name Bischoff. Like to see where this goes. What's his new name going to be? Is he going to come back as the Masked GM? I don't know, but I assume we'll find out. Match it was good. Like I said, the crowd was a little dead, so it kind of took away from it. But the match was good. Nothing wrong with it. It wasn't like a show steal or anything like that, but it was a decent match. Motor City Machine Guns versus Samoa Joe and Magnus. I gotta say, Alex Shelley's jacket's very reminiscent of Fit Finley's old jacket when he first debuted in WCW, and that is not a compliment to Alex Shelley, I have to say. Really good match, but really dead crowd, which really just took away from the match. I think this would have been an excellent match if the crowd was hot, but with a dead crowd, you just can't get into it. It's too bad. But what can you say? It's a cool power bomb. Chris Sabin on Samoa Joe is a big dude, so that was pretty sweet. Joe broke up, had to break he had the choke. He had to break it up to stop the pin. And then, but ended up with Joe and Magnus with their snapmare elbow drop combo for the finish. Would have been an excellent match if the crowd was into it, but they weren't, so I would say it was good. Go backstage, and JB's asking Robbie E if they're going to rename it Jim Tan Lockdown. I really like Robbie E, and I like Big Rob. I think it's too bad they took the title off him. I thought that was a good act for TNA. It was their own guy. It was both their own guys, and I like the whole Velvet Rope. I like the whole group, and why they took the belt off him to go with Devon, who in my opinion has absolutely nothing going for him at this point in time, is foolish to me. I don't really understand it. Just a total dud of a match was Devon versus Robbie E. Went like 2 or 3 minutes. Just nothing happening match. Crowd dead, but they had no reason to be into it. Just nothing. And like I said, I don't know they have a pretty big roster. With this roster, why they're using Devon Dudley so much, I don't get it. I mean, use the Pope or pretty much anybody in the roster over Devon. It's nuts. Freaking Devon. Backstage promo with Matt Morgan. He said he was going to make Crimson his redheaded bitch, which is very strange because you got Christy Hemme there. You think he would be looking at maybe something over there. No, he's going to make Crimson his redheaded bitch. Gail Kim versus Velvet Sky. Decent match. I liked nice suit on Velvet Sky. You got to put that over. Really dangerous power bomb by Velvet Sky onto Gail Kim off the top rope. I just, honestly, if the Divas or the Knockouts, I think are better than the Divas, but still some of them aren't necessarily the greatest wrestlers. And if you're not the greatest wrestler, you should probably not be trying something you could potentially break someone's neck with. But, all right, match. The finish was kind of lame. Just Gail Kim with a roll-up and pulled the tights. Kind of lame for a cage match finish, but what can you do? Ric Flair comes out. Probably the highlight of the pay-per-view up to this point. He's calling the fans a fat boy, and this guy with no teeth. And Hogan comes out, and there's really no purpose for this, but to maybe they were trying to get the crowd pumped up again. I enjoyed it. I gotta admit, Ric Flair, huge fan of Ric Flair. I would rather watch Ric Flair throwing a shoe than a Matt Morgan match or Devon Dudley doing anything, that's for sure. But anyway, Hogan comes out and they start talking about, I can't even remember what they're talking about. Just the interaction with them is always good, no matter what, even if you've seen it a million times. And what was funny was Hogan knocked out Flair, and then he did this. He did that face. Now, if you listen to iWatch Wrestling, Wednesday nights, 8:05 p.m. Eastern, we just brought that up this Wednesday. OIB 1-inch bicep said someone should do that. And here, the guy does it. Is Hogan listening in your head? I don't know, but I was happy to see that. Morgan and Crimson, just a terrible match. Why do we see these guys together for so long? It's been like a year, I'd say, since like last summer that these guys have either been feuding or tagging together. I mean, people in TNA, do they watch their own show? Have they ever seen anything with these two guys involved that would interest anybody? Have they done anything interesting together? I don't know. Why are they still wrestling each other? Who wants to see it? I can't believe anybody thinks it's good. Just a bad match. And Morgan just really blatantly obvious, like crotches himself on the rope and then just like slowly lays down and tangles his foot in the rope. And I don't know, President Clinton actually in our chat room during the show, which, if you're watching the pay-per-view, you can join iWhitewrestling.com and interact with us during the pay-per-views. But he brought up, like, even Andre the Giant back, like, in his final days was, like, more agile, wrapping himself in the ropes than this. It was pathetic. And then Crimson just kind of hops over the thing and escapes. Just terrible. Maybe that's a good finish for, like, a chicken heel, but these guys are supposed to be these two big badasses, and he just runs away. Just a total crap match. I would hope we see the end of this, but we probably won't. Kurt Angle versus Jeff Hardy, by far match of the night. Of course, the crowd being into it helped it a lot, but I mean, both guys worked their ass off. Kurt Angle's my favorite all time. Jeff Hardy, when he shows up, can have hell of a matches. There was some blood in this match. Big Angle slam off the rope, which was pretty sweet. But man, the finish, the swanton bomb off the top rope, off the top of the cage, was sweet. Sometimes you'll watch a match and they'll do a huge spot that's really cool, and then then they'll kick out, which can be cool too, but then they'll overkill it. This I thought was perfect because he hit the big move and he just pinned him. Loved it. And a well-deserved This Is Awesome chant. I think it was the only This Is Awesome chant of the night. Like I said, unusually dead crowd out of the Impact Zone, but they were into this one, and rightfully so, and a well-deserved This Is Awesome chant, which sometimes they chant for nothing. This time they chanted it for a reason. Rosita and Sarita versus Eric Young and ODB. It's just a little fun little match, I guess like a buffer between this and the main event. Nothing mind-blowing or anything like that. But it was kind of funny. Eric Young I don't think he even tagged in at all, but he was outside the ring, and Sarita, the Chicas, they were trying to seduce the man, and he would hide his head, he'd look away, and then he'd have a little smirk on him. I think he does a lot of little things that are really funny. Really talented guy, Eric Young. I like him and ODB together, said many times. And ODB she basically hulked up after drinking the flask. It's like her spinach. She's freaking Popeye. And she beat Sarita and Rosita, and they kept the Knockouts tag team titles. It was a fun match. It was just, Robert Roode versus James Storm. This match I was really looking forward to. Awesome build on Impact. You can listen to my Impact review earlier in the week. And, man, this was, I thought it was kind of a letdown. It was a good match. They had a big brawl outside the ring before they got into the cage. And the match was fine. I didn't think it was spectacular or anything like that. Rude had it won. He could have escaped I don't like the escape rule in a cage match anyway, because the object to me, if you're in a cage, you want to beat your opponent down and you want to destroy them. You don't want to run away. Running away from a fight to me is not a manly thing to do. And they really put over that these guys wanted to beat the shit out of each other on Impact. So then for Rude just to try to walk away was kind of lame. But he didn't do it, so I guess there goes my point. But so he grabs the beer bottle and he hits him over the head. And it's kind of strange, because usually if a heel can win a match and then because of his ego or he wants to hurt the guy more and he doesn't do it, usually means he loses. But he ended up winning the match anyway. So it was almost like he had him beat, and he still beat him anyway. But anyway, big super kick from James Storm. I know it's kind of an overdone move, but he does it really well. And then he didn't pin him up the first super kick. Second super kick, kicked him out of the cage, and it's kind of, I could see the reasoning there, and it's kind of an interesting finish. It's kind of a cheap victory, but man, they do this so often, Robert Roode, with all these cheap victories, and it really just doesn't make you pumped for the show. It just kind of makes you just feel yeah, I get it. I understand that the heel, he's a chicken shit heel. He's supposed to keep the title in a cheap way, but at the same time, you're really pumped. They really put over this match on Impact. And then you buy the pay-per-view, and their pay-per-views are not doing well. And I'm not a guy that say you should look at all the numbers and whatnot. But if you're putting out your hard-earned money, you should really get something for your money. And to see this cheap victory at the end of the thing, it just kind of makes you feel I don't think that's the way to go. I understand it. Maybe it's just the wrong time for TNA to be doing this, because they really need to get you pumped up to buy the pay-per-views. They need to build momentum. And I don't think this is a way to build any momentum. I could see maybe people will say, well, eventually when someone beats Robert Roode, then it's finally they beat him. But I really think it's just a bad way to build any momentum. I understand the reasoning behind it, but I think maybe it's just a bad time to be doing this. And so after all that build on Impact for this to be the finish, I was not too thrilled. The crowd was a little more into this than some of the other ones, but wasn't they weren't loving it or anything. I would say it was very disappointing. Didn't live up to the hype from Impact. I'd give the whole pay-per-view as a whole a thumbs down. Match of the night for sure was Jeff Hardy, Kurt Angle. The tag match was fine, but really had no heat. The opening match was pretty good. Devon match and the Morgan match was just terrible. The Knockouts match was fine, but it wasn't worth the money. If you're thinking about buying the replay or whatever, I wouldn't do it. Wasn't anything you had to really go out of your way to see, besides possibly the Jeff Hardy Kurt Angle match. Another thing I want to say about TNA is I need some hot finishes in the matches. like I said, the Hardy Kurt Angle one, I really liked the finish in that. But a lot of the other matches, like there wasn't really a lot of drama in the finish itself. It was just kind of like roll up out of nowhere, or Devon beats this guy out of nowhere, or Crimson just runs out of the ring, and there wasn't really any, like, drama that we're getting into it, like near falls. And I don't know if they don't really have like a good finish guy there. Maybe they should. I know there's a lot of veterans there. There must be somebody backstage who really knows how to build up some good finishes. Something they need to work on, especially for the pay-per-views. I would say again, TNA is not delivered on pay-per-view. Definitely a better effort than some of their other pay-per-views, but still wasn't there. And I would blame a lot of it on the crowd, but not entirely on the crowd. Because some of the matches just weren't that great. Some of the finishes weren't so swinging. But definitely if the crowd would have been more into it, it would have picked the show up, possibly a thumbs up. But for me, not really worth it. Kind of thumbs down show. It's too bad because I really like Impact. Especially this week, that was awesome. But they haven't really had a great pay-per-view since Bound for Glory. Something they really need to work on, or maybe just do away with the pay-per-view. But anyway, thanks for listening. Rate, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you thought of the pay-per-view. On future pay-per-views, you can join the message board, join the chat room during the live pay-per-view, iWhiteWrestling.com. Afterwards, you can actually send me a video response what you thought of the pay-per-view, and I'll play it on the show, or send me voicemail 508-644-8503, and I'll play that on the show. Try to keep it fairly short. But anyway, thanks, guys, and we'll see you this Wednesday. iWhiteWrestling.com every Wednesday night, 8:05 p.m. Eastern. Oh, man!